Hey gang, Julia Usher here. I'm back with another competition Q&A. This is going to be a little different than the one I conducted this morning and the others I've done earlier this week and over the past weeks. For those of you who are following all the videos, I want to make sure that I change things up so you get a little bit of new information each time. This time we're speaking with a gold sponsor, and I would say if there's a theme, it's going to be internationality and also inclusivity and equity. And I think that'll come to be apparent as we get into the discussion. Just a few words about my competition before we get started. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, I've been running it for a number of years now in various formats, some in person, some online. This is actually our third year of running the competition online, which is awesome. This gets to the inclusivity point because anyone, anywhere in the world can join. You simply have to follow the rules, which are posted on my site, Cookie Connection, create an entry, take some photographs of it and a short video, and then upload those photos and videos to Cookie Connection for judging and evaluation. So we have had people from all over the world participate in our past online competitions. We'll talk about that in a second. We do some things that make it a little bit easier for people from all over the world to participate and to benefit from participating, which we'll also talk about. On the theme of internationally and internationality, we welcome obviously international entrants. We of course welcome international sponsors as well. So I've got one of our international sponsors with us today who I'm going to introduce. She comes from Brazil. Moving on to the next slide. And her name is Lara Parodi, and she is the owner and founder of Sweet Bite app. I'm going to say a few things about her app. She's been sponsoring our competition since the first online edition in 2021, and she's been a gold sponsor each time, which means that she's contributed to the highest of levels in the competition. So I thank you, Lara, for those contributions. They're really incredible. Her app was designed by her. She's a cookie decorator, specifically for cookie decorators, to resolve problems we have with controlling our glut of tools. You can see my cookie cutters in the back. And I have many more bins of them actually across the room, like thousands of them that are scattered all over. Well, Lara's app actually resolves all of that. It's an inventory management system, which allows you to keep track of cutters, stencils, basically any kind of cookie decorating tool. I'm going to turn the mic on over to Lara now, who's going to talk a little bit about her product, a little bit more about her business, how it got started, how it's structured. And I'd love for you also to talk a little bit about the prizes that you're giving away in our competition. When we're done with that, Lara's going to turn to some questions for me, things that she's been hearing in her local market in Brazil and South America, so that I can kind of address questions that might be more foreign to me. So with that said, Lara, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us more about your business.
Oh, hi, Julia. Thank you to being here. It's a very big pleasure for me be a gold sponsor of this kind of competition, a worldwide competition. I'm very glad about it. Being here. Thank you very much. And I started Decorate Cookie in 2014. It's almost 10 years. In the end of the year will be 10 years. And when I started buying some cookie cutters. And one day I saw a Bond cookie cutter, a dog Bond, and I bought it. And when I arrived at home, I have the same one, the same one. I said, no, I can't believe this. And then when I have an order, I took a lot of time on my beans. I separate beans with team at that time, and I lost a lot of time looking for my cookie cutters. And I thought I will make a spreadsheet about it to organize. And that year, Mike and Karen made a book for CookieCon where a person lose time organizing her cookie cutters and needs to buy a new one for the order. So I thought, oh, this is something that every cookier has.
Hmm.
So I draw the application and I improve it with some new features, like we can put one picture of the cookie cutter and you take the picture in something that you can see the size of the cookie cutter, so help you to understand when you are seeing. We don't lose the track of the size of the cookie cutter, and you can put more images of cookies ready, or some inspiration that you have, so you can put more photos uh,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
on your computer. Yes,
So you can just
so
go in there, basically, once you load your information about your inventory, you can go in there and say, I do, because I do this all the time. I don't think I have a cutter, or it's going to take me really, really long to find it. So I just buy it again. But I could go in and just say, hey, ballerina, and then search and see what comes up to
yes,
remind myself of what I have.
yes, you have the tags, so you can put like ballerina, dance, or girl, and so you can put anything that reminds you, and with comma, and they will find for each of this information, and you will find it very easier, and it will say to you which bean it is or which draw it is, and
Got it.
if you have more than one size, you can see you have more than one size, and you can see everything you have for rabbit or Easter or something like that.
How great is
And you
that?
don't need have this in a draw of for Easter or for Christmas, uh, because this is another problem. Where you put the bunny, you put the bunny with the animals, or you put the bunnies with the
Right.
Easter. So this
So as
is
long as your
you.
information is good in your app, as long as you're entering the right location, you should be able to find it pretty quickly.
Yes, this is it. When we have good information in, you have good information out. If we put garbage in, we have garbage out.
Yeah,
This is the truth with data.
it's true. I need help with that part because right now everything is everywhere. But so
You're
everybody, I
welcome.
just want to point out we're broadcasting across the world, so there's a little bit of a delay between how Lara appears and what she's saying. Her voice is synced with mine, but her video isn't. There's not much we can do about that, so please bear with us. Anyway, keep going. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. So and you can access this through iPhone, Android, and you can access also through your computer. So,
Excellent.
and you have all the information in any kind of device you have, on mobile device, on tablet, or even on your PC.
And you have various pricing options, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we have a free tier for 100 items, and if the person has more than 100 items, the person needs to uh, upgrade, or if she wants upgrade, and she can pay by monthly or she can pay annual. If she pay annual, she had like a discount for 2 months.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I would imagine most people would be over that 100 limit pretty quickly. But that's terrific. What a great foot in the door as well. What else do we need to know about it? Can it handle other tools as well as cookie cutters?
No, you can put anything you want. You can put uh, brushes, you can put color gel or glitter, you can put anything. You take a photo, and when it's finished, like if you have a different glitter or a different adornment and end it, you just take off from the app, you delete it, now we have quantity, so you can put like, I have 3 brushes of this, or this is one of the requests from our users. They request for have quantity, so we improve this.
Oh, so that's
And that,
excellent. So I could say I have 5 bottles of electric green food coloring, and then as I use it, I just have to keep updating the inventory so it stays accurate.
yes,
Good.
yes, this is it. But I think it's very easy to use, and I always have support. If the person has any trouble, she can message me through Facebook, to phone, to WhatsApp. Here in Brazil, we use a lot of WhatsApp, but in the United States, the people doesn't use WhatsApp, but it's a very good
It's
thing
an
to
excellent tool.
communicate.
It's an excellent.
Yes, it's a
I use
nice
it a
tool
lot.
to communicate.
Yeah, I
Oh,
travel a lot, so I'm using it a lot. It's excellent for communication across the
yes,
world.
yes.
So, but you're reachable in many different ways, so it shouldn't be a problem for anyone anywhere. So,
No.
how great! What else should we know about the tool, or what else should we know about the prizes that you're offering in the competition?
Oh, the prices, it's 3 years of the premium, or the VPI,
Wow,
the 3 years of the Sweet Byte app, that the person can input the data and use the full features of the app. Yes, it's a. I think it's a nice price if the person wants to organize it, and and I know sometimes start organizing, it's a little bit difficult. So when you take off one cutter, on one cookie cutter, or on one stencil to use for your order, instead of putting back without any annotation, you just register it, input it on the app, or some kind of organization method. So you will, over the weeks, you will organize everything easily, or pick up like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or a half an hour for each day and do this. And there's no, so it's not so boring. Or you can pay, or uh, talk with your children and they do it for you, or your mother. My mother made for me.
get some free labor. But I will say though that once that information's in there, the time savings that come after that can be incredible. I mean, I just think about the countless hours I spent searching for a tool. You know,
Yes,
this would eliminate that. Or as you said, duplicating, going out and purchasing a cutter that I already have. I've done that so many times. I do that with my own stencils. In fact, it's like I know my stencil is here somewhere, but I don't want to spend the time finding it. So I think it's an awesome tool. I will also point out that in this competition, we have basically 4 categories, if you will, in which we award prizes. We've got 2D and 3D cookie. And within each of those, we have a beginner, intermediate skill level and an advanced master skill level. So we award first, second, and third in beginner, intermediate 2D, first, second, third, and beginner, intermediate 3D, first, second, third in advanced master 2D, and first, second, and third in advanced master, or did I say that already? Beginner, intermediate 3D. So we've got 4 areas that are going to, or 12 prizes. So Lara's giving out 12 3-year access passes to her app, which is really incredible. So I thank you again.
thank you.
Anything else that you want to say about your business, or do you want to fire? I know you have some questions that you thought of that were relevant to the competition that you wanted to ask me. So if you want to start on that, I'm prepared.
I think, yes, I think we can go on.
Okay.
One thing that I was interesting about it, it's how many different countries participated in the last online competition.
Mm-hmm. So You told me that in advance, so I actually prepared a slide. And I was interested in this myself. And so I pulled together this nifty slide that shows this. I've actually answered this for the last 2 years of online competition. The first year was in 2021, and the second year was in 2022. In 2023, we went in person again. So the internationality aspect isn't so relevant when the competition's at a show. Here in the United States, we tend to get all U.S. entrants. When it's online, you can see that we get entrants from all over the world. In 2021, we had entrants from 17 countries. In 2022, we had entrants from 15 countries, and that represented about 34 to 42% of our registrants. So still the lion's share of our registrants are from the US, but I'm pretty impressed with the fact that a solid like 40% are coming from areas across the world. Our biggest representation outside of the United States would be Canada and Japan. But as you can see from this map, it might be a little, you can probably zoom in if you're watching this later on your computer. But we've had entrants from all, just so many places. Japan, as I said, Taiwan, Malaysia, South Africa, Australia, all over Europe, South America, Brazil. We've got Jamaica
Chile
in here. I mean, so, you know, it just goes on. And I think that points to the fact that the online competition is very accessible to people everywhere. The rules are written in English. I will say that. They're on my site, Cookie Connection. But if you go to the bottom of the site, there's a Google Translate button, which will translate the rules into any language. I write in full sentences, so the translation's generally pretty good. One thing we've had people do in the past, I've had groups of cookie decorators that are friends that wanted to enter. And when they've had somebody that has strong English skills, that person has translated the rules for everybody in the group. So there are ways that you can collaborate amongst friends if you're entering as a group to have the rules understood if you find the Google Translate button isn't enough. But for the most part, I think it is. I'm also available for questions really pretty much 24/7. So if you email me and a rule isn't clear, I will translate your email if it comes in a different language. I'll answer it in English and translate it back. And I have had a history of doing that now for 2 years, and I think it's really worked well for those who have entered. So that's pretty exciting for me. And I'm hoping this year we have even more entries from all over and some new areas that we can mark with teal on the map. Teal indicates where a country that has entered the competition.
Yes, you know that besides the Google Translator that you have in your site, I think almost everybody that doesn't understand English or another language, the Google Translate automatically for the language that it's in our computer. So a lot of times I go in the websites that is in English, and he asked me if I want to translate, and I sometimes he forgot my answer, and he asked me again if I want to translate English, and I say no. But I think it's very easy to translate when we are in the internet. Very easy.
And if you don't see that on my site, you can just scroll to the footer. It's in the footer. There's like a little widget in the footer, and you have to like scroll down, find your country, click on it, and it'll translate every single page of the website actually. So it's pretty nice. Okay. Any other questions about where people come from? I know that we had, I should say, a little bit about prizes, a little bit about the benefits from entering all over from all different places in the world. Because for me, as an individual, and for my judges, we derive a lot of pleasure from seeing the entries from all over the world, because different cultures take different spins on things. So and maybe emphasize different techniques or different approaches. So we're always learning something new just by the diversity of the entrants that we have. So we love it. We have also structured our prizes in such a way that the entrants benefit too. So um, we have a record-breaking level of prizes. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it's over 25,000 USD that gets distributed across those 12 winners. And about 9,000 of that is cash, which I can distribute anywhere in the world. And the other remainder is digital certificates, coupon codes, access to digital products like Lara's that can also be distributed anywhere in the world. So we are not confined to, we don't have any physical prizes that we need to ship at great cost that somebody has to pay then a tariff on to get it, into their country and into their home. So all of these prizes come sort of unfettered by any additional shipping or tariffs that might be applied to a physical product. So I'm pretty excited about that. We have had situations where entrants, I did last year a lot, entrants from a particular country didn't have ready access to, it was just very difficult given the country to distribute the cash directly into bank accounts. So I worked, in this case, there were a number of people that won from that particular country. So I worked with them, worked through friends they had in the United States to make sure that their prizes were directed to them. And that takes a lot of, one-on-one personal attention because I got to make sure that the monies get directed to the right people and always with the approval of the winner. So we even if there are hardships in terms of banking relationships between countries, because they do exist, we can make it work. So so that's a little bit about one of the benefits of entering, which are the prizes. And if you don't win, I talked about this in today's earlier live, there's a huge benefit from the feedback you get from our judges. That feedback is delivered in English. So, that might be a limitation, but there are ways we can translate that if needed as well. Again, I tend to write everything out in fully scripted sentences, no shorthand, no abbreviations. So these translating tools are actually pretty effective with doing that. So that answers, I hope, kind of the internationality aspect of things. We really do pride ourselves in welcoming people from all over.
This is very nice. The being open, because everything in United States is so organized, and that it's very good to be part of it. It's very very nice to be part of something so organized and so trustful. It's very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, we do a lot to make the judging process also pretty very transparent. I don't want people entering the competition wondering how they're going to be evaluated. I want them to know how they're going to be evaluated because I think that's important in terms of designing your entry. If you know what the judging criteria are, for instance, you can design your entry accordingly. So all of our judging criteria, our judging process are pretty clearly spelled out in that competition overview post on my site, Cookie Connection. That's the post to go to. It has all the rules. It has the registration link. It has a description of the theme. It has everything. And there'll be a link to it underneath this video when it airs online. So I encourage everybody to read that. And again, that can be translated just by using that Google Translate button at the bottom of the site. But yeah, we do try to be incredibly fair and impartial with regard to the judging process. We want people to just have a really good experience with it, honestly. And so I can address that if you're interested, if you have further questions about what we do to ensure that. I'm happy to address that as well.
Oh, well, I saw your earlier live, and you explained very well about the how the judging process goes on. And I think if it's very clear, and like you said, everything is on the website.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but uh, I I I think it's very interesting I was watching the live and remember what you explained to me, but I think it's interesting to people that doesn't watch the live in the morning,
Mhm.
knows how it is the judging process. It's
Well, this
very
this
interesting.
slide is a slide left over from this morning that I happen to have handy, so I can run through that again. I think it's pretty important. Again, getting back to the themes today of inclusivity and fairness and equity being really kind of the watchwords of my competition. I think the judging process plays a huge part in the impartiality and equity aspect of things. So I'll just run through these points pretty clearly. First of all, the competition's online, so the entries are all they're all anonymous to a certain extent. They're all anonymous to the judges. So since I'm administering the competition, I will see names attached to the entries, but before the judges see any entry, I assign a random number to each entry, and the judges never know who created the entry. They just have a number associated with it. Also, we ask that when people submit their entries, which are again just a series of photographs and a short video of their project, that they have no identifying materials in those photographs. So they can't include a business card in their photograph, or they can't include their face. They shouldn't be in the photographs with their project, because again, our goal is to make sure that our judges can't associate who made the project with the project. We do that because we don't want people bringing any bias to the judging. They might have had a positive or a negative experience with a cookie decorator, and somehow that colors how they evaluate things. We really don't want that to happen. We want people to be judged just on their skills and their interpretation of the competition rules. And so that's one huge safeguard. The other thing that we don't permit is any posting of work in process. So as you're making your entries, don't post them online. Don't post parts of them or full versions of them online prior to the results of judging being announced. Because again, our judges are on social media and they'll likely see that and then be able to associate that entry with you. Third point, blind judging. I touched on this. No one knows who created each entry other than me. I make all the associations before the judges see any aspect of the judging materials. I clean the databases of all identifying information. We also have a very planned and systematic judging process. It's a two-step process. In the first step, every judge scores each piece across the judging criteria for the category. So 2D has 7 judging criteria, 3D has 9. They'll assign points. Points range on a scale of 1 to 10 to each of those criterion. And they do all that independently. They don't talk to each other. And we do that to make sure that every judge's input is equally heard. There are competitions, a lot of online competitions where the judges as a team and they talk things out as they're judging. And my personal feeling about that is that it's too easy for one judge who might be really opinionated or to have a strong voice to kind of overshadow the rest of the group. And I really don't want that to happen. So everyone judges, enters their scores. I get all the scores, I tabulate them, and I get a ranking of how the scores fall out. I'll then look at them and say, okay, are there any really close calls? People that are within a fraction of a point. Because they're big prizes. We want to be really careful about who we award the prizes to. So if people are really neck and neck, we'll discuss those in the second stage of the judging process to make sure that everybody's, to make sure that some judge might have a reason for scoring something differently than another. We all want to understand why that happened. I'll also look for things like big disparities, like if somebody ranks somebody very high and somebody didn't, but they averaged out to be kind of middle of the road, we'll want to discuss why there was that difference of opinion. So once we get all the scores in, we meet as a group and we go through those close calls and have more qualitative discussions to finalize the actual awards. So it takes us a little while to judge. And usually it happens over the course of a couple of weeks in the online competition. We also have predefined point deductions. So if a rule isn't followed, we don't arbitrarily just say, okay, we're knocking 20 points off this entry. We will say if somebody doesn't If somebody includes something inedible in their entry, it's an automatic X point deduction, and that same deduction gets applied to anyone who's made that mistake. So we rarely disqualify. I mean, the point isn't of this competition to be punitive. The point is to is learning and growth. So we want people to come out of this, with feedback about what they did well, what they did less well. And so we'll never throw anybody out of a competition, I don't think, unless something unexpected happened. But we will take points off if rules aren't followed. And we have those rules so that there's kind of a level playing field. So people are approaching the challenge with a consistent set of, consistent understanding. Again, that gives no one an unfair advantage relative to someone else. The last 2 points relate to our feedback, which I think is really the best in the business, if I do say so myself. And partly that's because the competition is online, so we have a lot more time to write it. When these competitions take place at shows, there's pressure to deliver the feedback to the entrants before they leave the show, which can often be in the course of a day. And if you have a lot of entrants, it's really hard to write meaningful feedback in that short period of time. With this online competition, I do ask people to request it. They must request it to me in writing through email by the time entries are due, which is June 30th. They just need to shoot me an email saying, I want the feedback. And then we'll compile it. Everybody gets scored, and I have the input to do it for everyone, but I'm not going to spend the extra 2 to 3 hours to write out the detailed feedback unless I'm sure somebody really wants it. So depending on how many requests we get, that can take me anywhere from a week to 3 weeks to get it all delivered, and I process it in the order the requests came in. So I've already had people request feedback. If you know you want it, get those requests in soon, because you'll be among the first to get it back. But that feedback will it'll provide you with your scores, your average scores from all the judges across each criterion, and then they'll be compared to your group average. So if you enter 2D, beginner, intermediate, the average scores of everybody in that group, with no one identified, but the average scores will be put side by side with your scores, so you can easily see, hey, I did really well on this judging criteria. Here's an area where I didn't do as well. I scored under average, So that'll give you an immediate indication of where you have room to improve. That is all supplemented with qualitative feedback, and that's what takes me the longest time to pull together, because I'll take comments from all the judges. They write notes on their entry forms. I'll take all those, I'll coalesce them into 2 categories of feedback. The first is, here's all the things you did really well that we would love to see you continue to do in future entries or in your ongoing work. And then there's a collection of, here are things that you could have improved on, and here's why. And typically we won't stop there with, here's what you could have done better. We'll usually suggest what we think would have been better and why, so that you have a little bit of insight into how the judges think. You may not always agree with us, but I think it's helpful not just to say this didn't work, but to understand how it might have worked better. That's how you grow, is when you have those whys, not, that explain the actual ratings. So we do a lot of that. That's how the judging process works. And so far, so good. So we've been operating this way for a number of years now, and I think it serves us pretty well and serves our entrants really well. Any questions?
Yes, no, I heard once some girl that likes to come in this kind of competition, and she said that she likes very much this feedback that she received when she come into a competition, and the feedback helps to improve and learn a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So this feedback it's very important. So if you want, you need to ask for. This is interesting.
Yeah, just because it does take me so long, and but it's there. I have the input. The judging process gives me the input to do it for everyone. It's just that the act of writing it. Honestly, truly, I will spend 1 to 2.5 hours on it, depending on the entry. If there's a lot to say about it, then I like to provide all the explanations. As I was saying, I don't simply want to put it out there and say, oh, these are all the things these are all the areas where you had room for improvement. I want to say why we thought that and how you might do things differently. Because again, I want people to feel like they walk away with the tools to grow. I don't want them just to, I don't want them to feel criticized. And I think if the feedback is abbreviated and people aren't given the explanations as to why, it's easy to feel, it might be easy to feel a little bit criticized. The point of this, again, is not a critiquing per se. It's a constructive evaluation to help you learn and grow. So
Yeah, if the person coming into the competition and the person asks for the feedback, uh, it's mm, it's 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 logical that the person wants to hear the true and get better for the next time and next competition.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's interesting, not everybody asks for it. So I find that interesting because I do think it's really the most valuable aspect of the competition. So I encourage everybody to ask for it. I think um, I don't know why. I don't know why some people don't ask for it. Because you don't have to agree with it. You can, if you've been decorating for a long time and you're a seasoned competitor, you might feel like you're going to anticipate everything the judges are going to say. Maybe that's one reason for not asking for it. But certainly as a beginner, I would think most beginners ought to be asking for it. But that's just my bias because I know what goes into it. But I will say there are a fair number that don't always. And I would also suggest that if you're going to enter a competition, just be prepared that everything you read isn't going to be isn't going to be roses, right? So so if you're not equipped, if you're not equipped to handle that, then that might, that's fair enough. Maybe emotionally you don't want to process any critiques. That's fine. Then don't ask for it. But I think most people entering understand that goes with the territory. So
Yeah. Um, well, with all this work you have, do you have time to analyze and see every piece? Do you have any favorite and personal favorite?
that's an interesting question. So again, I am an administrator of this competition. I don't actually score because I see all the entries coming in. So I might have my own personal favorites, but they don't factor into the judging in any way.
No, I
And
know.
also, and same thing with the judges, they might have their own personal favorites, but because we have those criteria, they really forced to stick to them and make sure things get fairly evaluated across each of the things we look for. So that, and we do that because we don't want somebody's like necessarily, we don't want them to overweight an entry and give it extra importance just because it appeals to them at some emotional level. The entry also has to be technically good. It has to be cleanly executed. It has to have an emotional content too. The people's interpretation of the theme has to be compelling and something that interests the judges. But for the most part, we view those as pretty equal factors in the overall scoring. And so having those criteria really prevents like somebody's personal favorite from surfacing, only for that reason. And my personal favorites, will never surface in the context of this online competition because I don't do the judging. The only area I would say where I kind of input any kind of like, hey, where I might challenge the judges is when their scores don't align with what they're saying, in our secondary session, or when two judges' scores wildly depart from one another. Sometimes that happens. Somebody scores somebody overall really high and somebody scores them less high. Then I'll come in, regardless of what my opinion is of those two pieces, I'll come in and say, okay, here's what the numbers say. Sandy or Laura, whoever the judge, explain, why you love this entry so much, and so, why did you rate it less highly? And we'll have them talk that out. And it may be that one of the judges spotted something that somebody else didn't see, and we'll zoom in on the photographs and take a closer look. So it's all pretty systematic. And I try to keep myself out of it just for the very reason that I know exactly who made each entry. So
Yeah, this is very interesting, and the theme for this year, it's very interesting also because it's a very popular and high level. It's not high level. It's in the trend for this year. No.
well, I
Yeah.
thought so. One of our judges, Sandy Beltran, came up with it, thinking that because we are online and we're going to be drawing entrants from all over, it ought to be something that people at least recognize. And the Taylor Swift Eras Tour has been pretty much worldwide. It's hard to get online and not hear something about her tour. That said, whether you like Taylor Swift or not, I'm kind of ambiguous myself. I don't listen to her music. I think it's really childish. However, I'm really impressed with how she's presented herself across the world and how she's managed to impact so many people. But regardless of whether you're a Swiftie or not, it doesn't really matter, because what we're asking you to do here is just to really express your own special moments in life, or your special eras, if you will, in cookies. We don't want to see any Taylor Swift imagery. We don't want to see any copyrighted materials in your entry. We just want this to be a personal expression of you, much as her tour is a personal expression of herself and the moments in life that she's gone through. So that was the connection. But because it really draws on kind of your own personal experience, we're expecting the entries to be very, very unique, and that's something, again, that the judges love to see. We really do value creativity and originality, and I think with this year's theme, there's a lot of possibility for people to be really original.
Yeah. I am very how to say in English, uh, about the creativity that the cookie people has uh, when we have a theme, and how this theme can be very wide with kind of solutions, we
Mm-hmm.
can say, and drawing and designs and everything. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think this one's wide open. There are some constraints. So, for instance, if you're entering the 2D category, the entry needs to be a minimum size. Same thing with the 3D; it needs to be a minimum size. There are a minimum number of cookies in the 3D category. It has to be 12 cookies minimum put together. But beyond that, you could, in those cookies, as long as you're meeting the minimum cookie requirement, it's only one in the 2D category, but it can be as many as you want. As long as you're meeting those minimum requirements, you can express as many eras in your life through the cookies as you want. You could express one, you could express two, you could express multiple ones. Um, right now we have an entry that expresses one era with many, 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 many cookies. So but it's in the 3D category, so it's more of a construction. So there's a lot of flexibility. I think if people are just true to their hearts and true to what really moves them, it's hard to go wrong on the theme. So
Yeah, I think it's very wide, and we have the people that going into the competition has a lot of things to think and to
mhm,
work on.
mhm.
it's,
And the good
it's
news is
very
time to do that. So we've got, entries aren't due until June 30th. I was talking this morning to Beatrice Mueller, who does really large scale competition pieces and large scale 3D pieces for her own business, for her corporate work. She does some of those constructions in the period of a month and a half. So, it's certainly doable with some focus. and time applied to it. And we've got that. So that's why we're out here now, talking it up, because we want to encourage as many people as possible to take that leap, and to just have the experience of competing.
Yes, just believe and jump and go.
Exactly. Yeah, as I say, there's absolutely nothing to lose and only learning and growth to gain, and potentially even more. Those prizes are huge. I have to remind people they are huge. They're really unprecedented, certainly for our competition and for most others. So if you do happen to win, you're sharing them amongst a relatively small group of people, that total. So you're likely to walk home with a pretty large prize package, which can be applied to yourself. You can re-gift it. You can choose how you want to use the cash and prizes that you get as well. So no limitations on that.
Yeah, this is fair. This is fair.
So any other questions for me? Anything else that you want to say about your business before we wrap up?
No, no. I don't remember anything about it. If someone has any question, can reach me out. I will be glad to take any kind of questions. And thank you very much for this opportunity to be here, and thank for organize this kind of competition and international and online, that gives everybody opportunity to be part of it, and has the benefit of the feedback, and be part of a very big community of
Yeah.
cookiers. And this I think this is the most important thing about some kind of community and competition. And besides the price, that it's very nice, it's very huge prices, but it's interesting. It's
Yeah, I
Thank you.
think the opportunity just to meet people in this process is pretty nice. People can reach out to me, communicate with me. Um, there's certain things advice I can give people pre-competition. Like, I'm not going to tell people how to construct their entries, but if they have legit questions about interpretation of rules and things like that, I'm here. I'm here, and certainly afterwards, I'm here. Judges are here for feedback, interpretations. So I just wanted to conclude by thanking you, because one of the really the only way this competition is possible is through the generosity of my sponsors. Without prizes, there really isn't a competition. And
Yeah.
and our sponsors also do great work in terms of advertising the competition and getting word about the competition into their local markets. So, again, I thank you for all of the ways in which you've participated in the competition, not just this year, but in previous years. Um,
No.
so that said, I think I'm going to end the recording and just encourage people, if they have questions, to reach out to me, sweetlife@juliausher.com. Remind people to read that competition overview post on Cookie Connection. I'll have the link to it underneath this video. And again, if you forget to look under the video, you can always email me. My email address is located in many places online. Without further ado, really look forward to seeing what people create. Get those registration forms filled in. I will say that if you register early, you have the advantage of getting access to the entry databases, so you can, play around in there, see what you need to upload, see how it works before the time comes to actually upload your entry. I think that's it. So have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of the day. Thank you, Lara, and I'll be looking forward to seeing all of your entries.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.